back with Bobby and JG Radio. This show is all about our veterans. This is one of our special shows here. It's a Veterans Day week, and we have Bobby Eric, the veteran specialist for the Bear Area Agency on Aging. How you doing, Bobby, man?
Good. How are you?
So we joke, but I think you're the real Bobby of Bobby and JJ Radio, and this other guy's been substituting for a while. He's not that good, by the way, dude.
I've heard that.
Terrible. Yeah. So I'm gonna do a mid-season trade here and see what happens. So can you tell us about, as a veteran specialist, what does that really entail?
So basically, my job is it's multiple layers of doing the same thing I did in the military.
Right.
Advocating for veterans and their families, helping them figure out systems like the VA healthcare.
Sure.
And also connecting them to community resources.
Right.
And then on top of that, I help my agency create programs that help all veterans.
All across the board, right?
Right, yeah. Whether that be through grant programs or creating a program that solves a community problem in our area, things like that.
Awesome. So can you talk about the San Antonio Coalition for Veterans? What is that?
It's a veteran nonprofit agency in the community. It was started I believe back in 2007.
Right.
I was the executive director for 3 years.
Sure.
And they do also a lot of advocacy and education of the community to the problems that veterans face, and they also do a lot of networking opportunities so that everybody can kind of know each other and what they have.
Awesome, man.
So you guys targeting a specific market, or are you also trying to connect it with the community?
As far as like when we do advocacy in general, any of us, Richard and myself, or any of the other guys that speak up a lot, we target parts of the community when we find out that they have more interest. So as an example, I did training for the Board of Realtors for 2 years because they wanted to educate their realtors more on things maybe that the veterans, the realtors themselves are not thinking about to help disabled vets.
Sure.
But normally when we go talk, and Richard can comment on that too, is we usually just raise awareness to the problems that veterans face, so people don't feel like we're totally different than the rest of the society. We do have different needs and problems.
Sure.
But we're not trying to ask for special favoritism or treatment. We want people to understand where we're coming from and things like that.
And we've talked about some demographics, me and you, when we were just talking about different things, and you do a lot of there's like a if you look at San Antonio, it's cut in half, right?
Right.
A lot of the problems are in the lower half,
right,
and a lot of the northern half, not for any particular reason, just because they don't know about it. It's just they're oblivious to a lot of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I think just the way San Antonio grew,
sure,
from what I've learned, because I'm originally from Philly, so
right,
I'm getting used to the South.
Right.
But from the way I've seen it, all new growth in San Antonio is the northern section.
For sure.
I mean, everywhere you go, you can't miss it. But the original older vets and the lower income populations in the South, they really they never wanted to connect with everyone else, because when they came back from war or from conflicts, they were always treated so badly that they just tried to stay away from everybody else. So it's kind of an education of the whole society.
To the north of what's going on in the South almost. So let's talk about the populations you're talking about. So these are the people you're servicing, right? A lot of the times, and they overlap. Yes. And talk about the demographics of who you're really helping. So
in my role, we have 13 counties that we try and support in the region. They call it the Alamo region.
Sure.
And there's 255,000 veterans in that area. So basically 1 in every 4 people in this area is a veteran themselves.
Military Town, USA.
Right. And it does not include also the family members.
Right.
So you could go as high as 3 out of 4 sometimes, where it's a veteran family of some kind, because no matter when you served or who you served with, everybody in the family serves.
For sure.
And especially in South Texas, where grandparents raise children also, the grandparents become extended families, and they also serve because they support their own individual veterans.
Right. And what's the approximate? So you're thinking about 250,000, and then when you add the families, it's a
yeah. So right now it's about 255,000. That was on the last census about 2 years ago.
Right.
It's going up because they expect 100,000 veterans to come to Texas in the next 5 years. So the numbers still are increasing, and we only have 2 million people in the area.
What's bringing that growth?
I think it's a lot because of all the supportive programs that Texas does for vets, but also how people in San Antonio treat veterans. Because I ended up here with severe injuries, just like Richard, And people did not look at me sideways or crooked because of my burns.
Sure.
They actually came up to me and said thank you and tried doing things out of their way.
Right.
Where if I was to go back home to Philadelphia, they would probably stare and do the
Right.
things people don't like.
Yeah.
So how do you help veterans that don't know they have these benefits that they qualify for?
So, in the military, I was a senior leader, and basically for my entire adult life, I've led soldiers. So basically, if you convert that to the civilian side, it's basically just being a manager, but also kind of being a parent, where you want to make sure that your troops or your family or your soldiers are provided everything that they need to be successful. On the outside, that's hard because the systems are so diverse and they're not connected to each other that people need to know and understand how they work. So as an example, the VA healthcare system.
Right.
A lot of veterans use it. They don't even realize some of the benefits that are available in the healthcare system.
Right.
Or as Richard does through education, a lot of the vets, they understand that, the word GI Bill, right, and things like that. There's a lot of vets that still don't understand they qualify for Texas state benefits for free, and that becomes a struggle where we're trying to bridge that gap between lack of information and too much information.
And you help to put in claims too, right?
Yeah, I mean, in my role, I do as much training for myself to help people as I can. So I'm certified to do VA claims and help submit those. And, in order to do that, you have to understand the system and how it works and have the right documentation, which expedites it. I also do what's called peer mentoring.
Right.
Richard and I are part of probably 3 or 4 different groups that certify people in peer mentorship, and basically what that is from military perspective, that's what's called battle buddies.
Right.
Or in the civilian world, it'd be like your best friend.
Right.
And we try and help them
So
out.
let's talk a little bit more about that, because it was. And by the way, this is Bobby and JG Radio. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Bobby Erig, the veteran specialist here in the Bexar County area. So let's talk about this battle buddy thing. It made a lot of sense to me when we were speaking about it the other day. Veterans that need help, sometimes they don't necessarily go and look for it, right? And so this program is kind of paired up the right people to help the right veteran, right? And that's what the whole battle buddy system is about. And you can talk about it a lot more, but like you were saying that someone that's served overseas and someone that's in the military but hasn't served overseas, they may not see them in the same light. And so you guys have kind of paired people up together to help each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple layers to it, but the basic premise is that people trying to get off of active duty, like myself, I had 17 years. I thought I knew what I needed to know.
Right.
When I got out of the military and became a civilian, in the civilian world, I had no idea, because it's not set up. It's in the same structure.
Sure.
Some things are very hard to navigate for anybody out here.
Give me for instance.
Let's say somebody doesn't get paid. For some reason they don't get their automatic direct deposit payment or something, and they're not from Texas and they're not from San Antonio and they're from 3,000 miles away. What do they do?
Right.
They don't know that there are some programs available to help them with emergency assistance.
Right.
Or like as Richard and I have seen a lot of vets rely on their GI Bill to help them sustain themselves financially while they go to college. And then we had one student that is a disabled vet that needed books, 2 books, that's it, to do the schooling, but she couldn't take the class because she didn't have the money to pay for the books, because the education money is delayed 3 months in reimbursement.
So then, so she's going to class without books. There's no reason to go to class, right?
And there's no reason to go because she won't be educated properly. She'll get an F. She'll have to pay the money back. So we reach out to the people we know in the community and try and find her some books, which was.
So it sounds like there's people that don't know that there's these programs, or some people are even too proud to even ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the older ones are very proud compared to our generation, because we're always told that there are things for you. You just have to open your mouth. The older generation doesn't realize that the same type of services are also there for them.
They just feel like they don't need it. They're too tough. My dad's actually a disabled vet. He was a Vietnam veteran, and I guess he's pretty tough. He just kind of, I guess, walked it off.
Right.
He's one of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, because when they got out of the service, Korean War II, World War II, they were just told, "Thank you for your service. Have a nice day." Where our generation, they kind of took a different perspective to it and said, "Hey, we're here to take care of you because you took care of us."
Bobby's dad's really taken advantage of a lot of the programs on his own, and he's helped out his brothers.
He got with somebody that at the VA that walked him through, and now he's at 100%, and he's been able to help other people.
Pays no property taxes.
in his situation.
Yeah.
and get them benefits. So he kind of became kind of a little.
Yeah, because I do the same thing. Like anytime I help somebody,
Mhm.
I try and teach them how to be an advocate for somebody else
To
that
help
might know
somebody
that's a vet. It's kind of paying it forward to each of them as well.
Yeah, you were talking about that the other day, and we're going to come right back and talk a little bit more about that. You say that once you help someone in the zip code, all of a sudden you'll get a whole bunch of calls from that zip code, right? Because there's people just knocking on each other's door and saying, hey, man, there's all this stuff for us. We just don't know about it. But we're going to be right back, and we're going to speak more with Bobby Eric. He's going to let us know how to get involved. We're talking about different programs and different events all around the city and how people can definitely tuning in here or watching on Facebook or on SoundCloud, how you can get involved today to help out these veterans, which we absolutely 100% need to. And then Bobby and I are going to match whatever anyone does that's listening to this program. We're going to match up to $1,000 of what anyone will donate on our radio show. But do not move an inch. Do not touch your dial. You listen to Bobby and JJ Radio.